What is up, Tampa Bay? It is Tampa Talk Tuesday, and what's happening here in Tampa Bay? I'm excited to be with you guys, along with my amazing, incredible co-host, Miss Marsha Railton, who's down in Bradenton, Florida. Good evening, Marsha.
Thank you, Juan. I'm happy to be here.
And we are happy to have you, of course.
Thank you.
It's the OG lineup for those of you who remember back a ways back before we had Stacy on the team, and Dennis, who we're going to introduce you to shortly here as well. I know I keep saying that, but that is absolutely going to happen in August. I'm going to get that scheduled so you guys can meet him also. But happy to make your acquaintance. If this is your first time here, we talk all things Tampa Bay, what it's like to live here, what it's like to work here, what it's like to play here. We're going to talk about the food, the dining, the outdoors, beaches, sunshine, real estate, everything Tampa Bay. You are in the right place if you wanted to learn about it or know more or contribute to the conversation. And as a matter of fact, we encourage that. We welcome you to the comment section. Please feel free to comment on the live stream. Ask your questions. We do Q&A every Tuesday. Literally, we are open to your questions. We love to take them in real time. If we've got an answer, we'll get it to you. If we do not have an answer for your question, we will track it down and happy to answer it for you either in the comment section or we'll send it to you directly. So feel free to connect with us in the comment section. And if you're watching this video later, the same thing goes for you. You can ask a question down there, leave a comment, happy to respond to those. I answer all of them personally. I don't have my assistant handling those for us. As long as the question is legitimate or the comment is legitimate, I will respond for sure. So happy to be with you guys this evening. And Marsha's got some great stuff for you guys. We're going to talk about what's happening down in Palmetto tonight, talk about what's happening down in Lakewood Ranch, I assume. Right, Marsha? I thought I saw that. And then we're going to talk a little
different things.
Okay, perfect. We're going to talk definitely about real estate and pricing and what's happening right now. Interest rates are finally starting to go down. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. Oh, man, it has been a very long 2 years. Let me tell you, man, I'm like losing my mind. And I think everybody's getting very excited at the potential that the Federal Reserve is going to cut rates. We're going to get the Fed meeting tomorrow. Oh, man, we're like, so excited for this to take place because I am tired. Marsha, I don't know about you. Like, I'm tired of talking about this. And I'm excited for the potential of what's happening out there. And just really want to dig into this stuff. We're going to talk about some developments happening in St. Pete, because I think that's super important to note, because that's part of the area. Whether you live in, Lakewood Ranch, or you live in Wesley Chapel, or you live in Indian Rocks Beach near where I live right now, it is important to understand what is happening in the greater Tampa Bay area. And we've got some really good news to share on that front. So I want to share it with you guys. But also a lot of St. Pete is incredible. I was down there all day recording content for this weekend's video. Marsha, there are 8 projects, 8 multifamily buildings going on at one time in St. Pete. There are cranes everywhere. It is crazy when you see what's going on down there. It reminds me of the time that when I went to Nashville, Tennessee in like 2016 or 17. And I remember seeing all the cranes in the air and I was like, what is happening? Like, it was crazy to see that much development in one space, because where I was from in the Detroit area, like that wasn't really a thing. Downtown has since really grown there, but just to see a city center just be like cranes all over the place and buildings being built, it was very, very interesting. And that is what's happening in St. Pete, for those of you who aren't aware. And I know not everybody is, Marsha, because for years, St. Petersburg was known as God's waiting room, right? Decades.
That.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was the thing. If you didn't live in Florida, St. Pete, like it was full of old people. And please don't hear what I just said. That is a quote, right, of things that I used to hear when I didn't live in the state. I have since been educated on multiple fronts. First of all, people who are well into their years have wisdom. That doesn't, right? So that's the first thing I want to say. Secondly, I didn't know about St. Pete either until we arrived. And man, the city is on fire. It's a vibe, lots of fun stuff happening down there. If you can't find something to do in St. Pete, Florida, your fun button is broken.
That's for sure. No matter what age you are.
I swear to goodness, right? Like Marcia is not lying, y'all. There is so many different things to do in St. Petersburg, and we'll talk about some of that stuff today. But man, what an incredible experience down there today. I want to say hello to everyone who is watching. Guys, if you are watching live with us, do not hesitate. Let us know where you're watching from. We definitely appreciate the conversation. We want to make this as interactive as possible. We've got things set aside for you, but really, you all are what makes this live stream the best. I just want you to know that the contributions that you have and the questions that you ask are really what drive this show and drive the content that we produce on the channel, because the questions you ask are the ones we want to answer for you. So happy to connect with y'all. Let us know where you're watching from. Shout out to everybody watching over on Instagram. Happy to connect with you guys there. Don't feel free to leave a comment. Love that. We're on LinkedIn right now. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We're everywhere. We're everywhere that you can see online, but happy to connect with you guys. I want to say hello to everyone who's chimed in right now. Good evening, Kevin. Kevin sent me an email. I have not got to that yet, but thank you for sending that over. It looks like Lakeland International Airport is getting like 7 new flights to their airport, Marcia. So that's cool. Great for people over. Yeah, that's great for people over there. Warren, what is up, Warren? He says, hi, Juan. Warren from Chicago. Shout out to Chicago, the second city. Love Chicago, man. If you guys have never been to Chicago, a summer night in Chicago is a very fun place to be. Go down to Navy Pier, experience that. You can go over to Shaw's Steakhouse and just, I'm telling you right now, that place, if you've never been to Shaw's, it's an experience. Marcia, we got reservations at Shaw's in Chicago, and I know this is about Tampa Bay, but y'all, I have eaten everywhere. All right. We went to Shaw's, Kate and I did, and I think we had an 8:30 reservation, thinking that the restaurant we thought we had gotten to the tail end of the reservations. When we walked into that restaurant, it looked like it was 6:30 on a Friday. And it was just, I couldn't believe how many people were still in that restaurant, and it was lights out. If you guys have never been to Shaw's, it is an experience, not just an incredible meal. So definitely do that if you're ever in Chicago. It's awesome. Go check that out. Chris, what is up, my brother? Good evening and happy Tuesday to you as well. We've got Lindsay. Lindsay is my peeps. She is I know her from living in Michigan, and she's just an incredible human being. Shout out to you, Lindsay. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. And I was just back in Michigan a few weeks ago. It would have been awesome to see you guys, but one step at a time, right? So thanks for watching. Chris says, well, at least Lithia is going crazy right now. The rain and the thunder are pretty insane tonight. We didn't get any here yet, but I'm sure it's on the way. That is a daily occurrence.
Yeah, we're getting it here.
Are you?
Thunder and lightning, yes.
Yeah. It got a little bit of rain in St. Pete. I was down looking at new cars again, which I didn't buy. I don't think I'm going to buy a new car.
We've been talking about that for like a year.
I don't want payments. Y'all, can you relate? You got I just don't want a payment. I have had a car that's been paid off for years.
Yeah, it's hard to do that.
It is. And listen, we have the nice vehicle. I always make sure that Kate and the kids have a really nice. And to be quite frank, my Volkswagen, even though it's a 2013, old chitty chitty bang bang there is, she's pristine. People see that car like, man, this car, like it looks so clean. So I keep her in good shape. I take good care of her.
It's a very nice car, unless you're having problems.
You know, the problem is I enjoy the creature comforts of the Expedition.
Yeah.
But that's the problem. Hey, having ventilated seats, let's talk about this, right? When you move to Florida, there are 2 things that you need on your vehicle, right, Marcia? Tinted windows, number 1, and ventilated seats. Y'all, you got to have those 2 things. And you know what the Volkswagen has neither of? Tinted windows or ventilated seats. And I could even get the tinted windows, but like, I don't know. I just don't want to put any money into it.
Yeah.
I did put new brakes and new tires on that car this year. So it's good for another 100,000. It's at $150 right now, y'all. 150,000 miles. That car turns over every time I turn it up. It's such a good vehicle. Anyways, I am considering upgrading, just so everybody knows. Love that. All right, let's keep rolling here. Eli, I'm going to get to your question. Okay, so you got a question. I want to say shout out and hello. Wait. Hello from Charlotte, North Carolina. Hello, Charlotte. I love this. Originally from Kalamazoo. Love Kalamazoo. Kate and I took our first adult date to Bell's Brewery in Kalamazoo, and then we went and jumped out of an airplane. Well, in reverse. Forgive me for saying that backwards. We went and jumped out of a plane. and then celebrated by going to the Bell's
wow.
Brewery. And that was a wonderful experience. So shout out to Kalamazoo. And that is where the first Gibson guitars were ever made. And the Gibson factory used to be there. So big fan of guitars, as you guys can tell behind me here.
And my connection to C-Weight is I lived in Charlotte, North Carolina for, I think, 5 years. That's where I met my husband. It's a beautiful city. I haven't been there in like 30 some years. Haven't unfortunately been back. And I know it's totally changed. I hear all the time how it's grown, and it was growing the whole time I was there. Yeah. So it's a beautiful city.
It is a beautiful city. And we also got Martha watching from Charlotte as well. And she's over on Instagram. Shout out to you, Martha. Love it. And then Chris, my man, he said chitty, chitty, bang, bang. And he laughed out loud. That's pretty good. Yeah, that reference there, right? Who else we got here? We've got Chantel. Hello from Chesterfield, Virginia. Good evening. Good evening. Cool. What we got here? Steven says, grab your sunscreen and flip-flops. The beach is calling, watching from Palm Harbor. Yeah, absolutely, my man. I love that. And then we got Zachary. Hello from Connecticut. Good evening, Connecticut. How's the weather up there? I'm very, very interested to know. Let's get to Marsha, we have a question early.
Oh, good.
Let me see here. Okay.
Oh, I see it.
Let's get to it. Okay. It's Eli. Good evening, Eli. Eli A says, would a multifamily unit where I live in one and rent out the others work well in Tampa? So I'm going to give that a name, Eli, for everybody else watching who may not be familiar with what that is. I've heard that referred to as house hacking. That's what I call it as well. And what I mean by house hacking, a house hack is when you purchase a home and you rent out a portion of it, whether it's a basement, an ADU. What I mean by ADU is an accessory dwelling unit. They usually call those like granny flats here in Florida, which is I never heard that term until we moved here. Or like a flop house, a crash pad, something in the back where they have these separate units where they can rent out. Also, multifamily could be a duplex, a triplex, a quad, an apartment building. And what Eli's asking here is that, can I purchase something and lease a portion of it out? Eli, that strategy will work just about anywhere. So I wouldn't limit yourself to Tampa, but of course, if you're considering here, that's an absolute great way to go. I will say this, that is a very competitive marketplace. So if you're, Marsha's shaking her head, because we do not see an abundance of move-in ready or even just an abundance of duplexes or triplexes on the market. They go like this.
Yeah.
That's a very competitive market. So if you see one and the numbers work for you, man, do not wait on that, because multifamily in the greater Tampa Bay area is definitely something that I would absolutely pick up any property that the numbers made sense to me personally. Okay. Because again, it's hard to come across those types of properties. So great question, man. Shout out to everybody else who just got introduced to house hacking. That's great. Again, you can rent out a bedroom in a home. You can, do a basement or an accessory dwelling unit, or be in a multifamily unit like Eli's asking here, but I love that. All right. So thanks for the question. That is a wonderful question. Appreciate it. All right. King Easy says, good evening from Columbus, Ohio. Enjoy your show. Very informative. Thank you. Appreciate that, Easy. Love that. Awesome. Marsha, why don't you read this one?
Hey, Juan and Marsha. This is from Corey Chilcote. I don't know if I pronounced that.
It's from Corey.
Corey from Columbus. Sassy, ? Vlad, ? Chris, ? Hate to you too. Missed the past couple of weeks, but caught up later. Awesome. Welcome back, Corey.
Love it. Welcome, Corey. Yeah, Chris is here. We haven't heard from Sassy yet or Vlad. We'll have to check in with those guys later. I love the fact that our community's calling each other out. That's fantastic. Susan over on Instagram says, live there also, and sometimes had a Southern accent. I love that. That is fantastic.
Oh, in Charlotte. Yeah,
absolutely. Charlotte. I haven't been. We've been to a lot of places in North Carolina, but we haven't been to Charlotte yet. It is definitely something that I think we should go check out at some point. I know that you guys have
some restaurant referrals from our Charlotte people.
Absolutely, because that is a place that is on our radar. It'd be a great place to go take Kate for a couple's getaway. So we will keep that on the radar.
Yeah, it is a beautiful city. Good place.
We would be checking that out. All right, so let's get into some stuff here in and around Tampa Bay. Talk about what's happening here. Marcia, we've got some events coming up, which I know we're excited to share with the community. I know you've got some community stuff here too, but what I'd love to do with everybody right now is just give you guys a quick overview of what's happening here in real estate. I know we did full deep dives, but I just want to do a quick overview because, Marcia, some interesting things have been taking place where I'm starting to get phone calls and people are sharing what they believe that is happening, but it's going against what the data is showing. So I just want to kind of remind people that even though you hear things, and I know that there's those crash callers on YouTube that have been predicting a crash every single day or every video since 2018, but that hasn't taken place. And I will say this, there has been downward pressure on pricing due to inventory increasing, but that pressure is starting to let up. And I'm not here to argue it. I'm just here to share the data with you guys. I've shared this many times before. The right time to buy a house for you is the right time to buy a house for you. It's not when we tell you, it's not when anybody else tells you. If that makes sense and it fits into what you're trying to accomplish, then being informed and having the information at your disposal is really important, right? That way you can make qualified decisions. So I'm not here to make decisions for people. That's not the intent of this show. What we like to do is be the reporter, if you will, and share the data, what's happening in the marketplace, because I found this very interesting. I'm going to share this chart with you guys right now. So this comes directly from Redfin. I'm not taking this from our board, even though that's where they get this information from, but I want to share this directly from a public source that you all have access to. You can go verify this on Zillow and Realtor.com. Also, that's a great way to do it, is just kind of look at all three of them. Like they take your credit scores and kind of blend those together. This is a great way to look at this too. But the thing I want to show you here is the Tampa housing market is still fairly competitive. Now, it's extremely competitive on the best properties, and pretty much every market in America is usually like that. So just keep that in mind. The dogs, though, and what do I mean by the dogs? The houses that people ask too much for, that aren't in good condition, they're sitting on the market. Right, Marcia? We see those houses, people are just stepping right over them. They have no interest in participating in rehabbing your home that you've neglected for the last 10, 20, 30 years at 7% interest rates. So if you're local to the market here and you're considering selling your home, please do yourself a favor. Either invest in the property and get it up to today's standards, or be aggressive with pricing and get yourself a good opportunity. Otherwise, you're just going to be chasing a market backwards, and that doesn't make any sense. Now, having said that, what's happening here in the Tampa Bay market? This is the thing I want to share with you guys, right? In June 2024, Tampa home prices were up 12.6% compared to last year, right? That's a big number, y'all. When you look at this number, this is a big number. On average, homes in Tampa are selling in 25 days. Now, this is the city of Tampa proper. I'm not talking about the greater Tampa Bay area. We've already discussed these numbers, right? But the thing I want to share with you is if you just look at this trend line, let's just go to this year alone. Let me back out of this so I can steal here, Marcia. Forgive me. Let's just go to this year. I just want you guys to see what prices are doing. Okay, this is back in the spring. We were really flat through the spring selling season here, and the summer has picked up, as you can see. So have prices. Now, inventory has also increased during that time too, y'all. So keep that in mind. But if you're calling me saying, Juan, I can see that prices are down, you and I aren't living on the same planet. Okay. Now, asking prices, what sellers are asking for their homes, they are taking reductions on those properties over 30%. Okay. 30% is a big number of reductions, but here's what I want you to be aware of. On average in the United States, in a normal market, forget about COVID market, in a normal market at any given time, roughly 1/3 of every home that is listed on the market takes a price reduction. 1/3. That's the United States. We are approaching 37% here in the greater Tampa Bay area. So it is within range there. But the thing that I need everybody to understand is that the asking price and the purchase price are not the same thing. Okay. So again, data. This isn't about me trying to be right. It's just helping you understand. When it goes down, I'll tell you that it's going down too. All right. So just keep it in front of you. But again, Marcia, We've had conversations over the last 3.5 years with people that keep telling us that a crash is coming, and that's okay if that's your belief. And at some point, they could be right on that, right? But in the meanwhile, we are still doing business here. People are still buying and selling real estate, and prices are still going up, which is nuts, right? So I just want you to be aware of. You know where the opportunities are right now? Condos, condominiums that haven't had their inspections, and that don't have fully funded reserves and have really expensive HOAs. Those condos are on deep discount, right, Marcia?
Yes.
You can find, they'll be on the market for a long time and they're ready to sell. Now let's keep digging into this, because I'm just going to give a quick overview. Okay, here's another thing that I want everybody to focus on. All right, sale to list price. What does that mean? That means that sellers, it's at 98%. Marcia, remember when we did this last month and it was 97.3?
Yeah.
So again, that number is also trending up also. What does that mean, Juan? Well, sale to list means that the seller was asking, let's just give a very basic example. In the last month, sellers were asking $100,000 for their property and they were getting $98,000 on average. That's what that number means. Okay, just so everybody can kind of have an insight on what's happening there. I want to share that with you guys in real time. Just give you, this is Tampa, the city limits proper. Okay. Now, as we head down, here's the thing that I want you to be aware of. We are still the #1 relocation state in the country. And Tampa is still a very popular relocation destination, depending where you want to live. So that is still what's creating some of this demand. So keep that in front of you also. Okay. So that's the thing I wanted to share with you guys in terms of what's happening here in Tampa. Let's talk quickly about St. Petersburg, because again, I was in St. Pete all day, and I think it's appropriate to talk about this because another city that is continuing to have a really good, last 6 years. The relocation numbers here are insane. Now, again, look at St. Pete. So it's showing it's down 3.5% year over year. Great. We're up, we're down, we're coming back down a little bit. And you can see this number here is trending down April, May, June. I think those numbers are going to continue in July in terms of home prices, the median sales price. Now let's look at the difference between single family and condo. Single family home, that's a detached property. That's down 2%. So not as much as most likely the condos, which again, down 13% year over year. So that, again, those were some of those opportunities lie. So keep your eyes peeled. If you're in the condo market in St. Pete, it might be a good time to jump on something over the next few months as those prices still continue to have downward pressure on them. So keep that in front of you. I think that that's an important thing to note. Let me go to all home types again. And then we work our way down here. It's looking like a balanced market. The average days to close in St. Pete right now is 37 days. Sorry, average days to contract. Okay. And in St. Pete, the sellers are getting 96.7%. So going back to our number there, we're down almost a full percentage point month over month on this, Marcia. And they're getting roughly, again, if there's $100,000 property listed, they are getting $96,900 on average. So just as an example there. So a couple quick things. I don't want to get too far in the weeds with that, but here's what we are seeing. We are still continuing to see inventory rise. But the thing to be aware of is new listings are on the decline. So you're in this weird thing. And I know I'm speaking a lot of real estate language right now. Just bear with me. What that means is less sellers are choosing to list their home right now than they did last year at the same time, right? But the existing properties are starting to stay on the market longer, which we showed you. Okay, so those two things are in effect. Now, if we continue to get less listings, then the active listings will come down also. So we'll see. The other thing I wanted to share with you guys, just while we're on this note, and then we'll kick into some fun stuff here, is where are we at with mortgage interest rates? Now, here's some great news, y'all. Great news. And if you're just joining us, welcome to Tampa Talk Live. We're doing Q&A tonight. If you've got questions about moving to the area or anything that has to do with Tampa, please feel free to put those in the comment section. Also, let us know where you're watching from. Happy to connect with you guys. But here, great. Some good news on the mortgage front. We still are not what I would call great interest rates by any stretch of the imaginations, right? I would love to see interest rates with a 5 handle on them, meaning 5 something. All right. And here's my belief. When we get to those interest rates, our markets are going to start to pick back up again. Just FYI. Okay. I don't know exactly what that looks like, and I don't think anyone does. But for 2 years, real estate has been in a recession. in terms of the amount of properties that have sold, and people are sitting on the sidelines. So when you see those interest rates get to that point, it's going to get busy again, no matter where you live in this country. I can assure you. But right now we're sitting roughly at a 6.8, which is great movement. You know, we were as high as 7.91 in October of last year. That's a big difference between the two. So we're down almost 1 full percentage point. On the average home in Tampa at 500 grand, you're literally talking about a couple or $300 a month difference in your payment. That's significant. So keep that in front of you, as there's more pressure here. The Federal Reserve, the odds are saying that the Fed's going to lower interest rates in September. And now they're saying that could even happen as many as 3 times. That's speculation, y'all, just to be honest, but it is looking likely. Right. If you go to Vegas and put a bet down, the bet right now is that the Federal Reserve is going to lower at least a 1/4 basis point. Would that bring us down in the 5s? Absolutely not. Will it bring us down in the mid 6s? It could. So again, that could be almost a 1.5 swing from October till now. It's good movement. So I'm happy to see that. Again, I know people are like bored to tears when we talk about interest rates, but this is important, y'all. This is what really affects affordability when it comes to owning a home. So I just want to share this with you guys. I think it is important for us to just keep it in front of us so you can see where things are going. If you were someone who purchased at 8% last year, when that thing gets down to, that 5 handle, if you get down to a 5.9, it might be time to refinance. We'll let you guys know, because I have a 7.25 interest rate I purchased last September. Juan is going to be looking to get out of that once we get in the mid 5s for sure. And I'll be letting all of you know about it as well, because Marcia, I am here for saving a few $100s on my mortgage every month.
Who's not? Hey, can I add a couple of things to what you were talking about?
Absolutely.
Juan? Two pieces of advice. Number one, the gentleman that was asking about house hacking, I think that is a really creative way that people are still able to afford to get into a home. And people are getting really creative with it. And I love that option for people. My daughter's a good example. She bought a 2-bedroom, 2-bath home, and it's great because the way it's set up, it's split. And in order for her to be able to afford the mortgage on that home, she rents out the other bedroom. And yeah, she'd love to have her own house, but she wouldn't have a house if she wasn't willing to rent. So I think that's a really good option for people, is, whether it's the same house or an attached house, or just people are coming up with really creative ideas, even changing rooms into bedrooms or adding a bathroom in order to rent part of the house out to make it possible for you to buy rather than to rent. So that was one thing I wanted to say. And then you had mentioned that condos are, you can find some deals on them, but I would be very studious of all their HOA documents, and have someone that knows what they're doing helping you, because there's a lot of risk in doing that at the same time, with all the new testing and inspections, which I think is a fabulous idea. A lot of the older condos needed that. So I'm glad that they're going in and updating the construction and making it safer. But, you don't want to get into what you think is a really good deal on a condo and find out that you're going to have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars to get it up to par. So Those are just 2 pieces of advice I wanted to add.
That's great advice, Marcia. So what Marcia's referring to is the milestone inspections that these condos are now forced to have done because of a law that was signed due to the Sunnyside condo collapse. So, as Marcia said, a lot of these condominium complexes were kicking the can down the road. And let's talk about this, Marcia, because this is so it's super important to understand why this challenge is taking place in the marketplace. For years, condominium complexes. So we got to break it into a few different things, but let's just talk about the cost of insurance being one component of this. Let's talk about the cost of maintenance being another component of this. And let's talk about the residents. Okay. And y'all, for years, Florida was known as the land of milk and honey for very little money. Right, Marcia, you could come here and live. It was very affordable for years. When I moved here in 2018, my head couldn't wrap around the fact of what I could purchase in Tampa Bay versus what I could purchase in the western suburbs of Detroit. The cost of living was so inexpensive between the two, right? And I'm talking about Detroit. Detroit is not known, and again, these are the western suburbs, so not the city proper, but Detroit is not known for being the most expensive place to live. As a matter of fact, it's one of the most affordable. But when I came to Tampa in 2018, it was ridiculously cheap, right?
Mhm.
And I couldn't believe how inexpensive it was. But here's the thing that I need people to understand: there are a lot of fixed income residents living in condos like that. There were a lot. There were a lot of second homes and fixed incomes. And the thing that I learned really quickly was that people did not put a lot of money back into these properties if they were a second home or if they were on a fixed income, right? And that includes the HOAs, right? The homeowners associations and the repair and maintenance on these buildings. So what they would do is they would underfund the reserves. Now, if you're not familiar with how a condo works, you're a co-owner of that. Technically, you only own the airspace that is in a unit. Now, you can do all the interior stuff belongs to you. But the thing that I want you to be aware of is like, it's a cooperative agreement between you and the other owners about, right? About funding the reserves as one. Now, reserves are the money that a condominium association or townhome sets aside for things like repair and maintenance, right? Things like, in the event of a hurricane, how do we take care of X? Or we plan on fixing the parking lot in a decade. Well, you don't want all that to hit you at once. What you want to do is you want to pay into that fund. That way, when the time comes, you can deploy it and it shouldn't affect your life. But in order to keep that cost low for residents, for condo owners, they had to underfund the reserves, right? And they kick the can down the road. It's just like our federal government, same. Right. And except the condos aren't allowed to print money. That you can go to prison for. The government, you can, right? Like the government just fixes it by printing more money. But here you don't get to do that. So now what is happening are those bills are coming to roost because of a few things. Number one, the cost of insurance has increased dramatically in the state of Florida, especially on coastal condominiums specifically, right? Number two, the law that was signed into place forces these condominium associations to fund these reserves. They must be funded. And these things have put a lot of pressure on the market. I know I'm going really deep on this, but the point here to understand is if you are interested in buying a condo in the state of Florida, there's going to be a great time to do it. I don't know if that time is now, but this pressure is pushing down on prices because there are some condo owners who have received a $15,000, $30,000, as much as I've heard, as much as $100,000, right, assessment to make these repairs due to this milestone inspection. And the milestone inspection is required every 30 years. All right. So properties that were built in the 90s and 80s they're all due. Anything built before 1994, sorry, has to have that inspection. Right. So, and if the building is 2 stories or less, it's not required. So again, if you're looking for a condo in Florida, if you find one that's 2 stories or less, you don't have to have those milestone inspections. Cool. Right. But you still want to make sure that you pay attention to the HOA, right? The requirements. You also want to make sure you're really focused on the reserves. And the other thing that was not a thing before that we're doing now that I'm encouraging everyone to do this moving forward is get the minutes from the meetings, because that will tell you what they're planning on doing, even though you're not planning on being there. So I know this is a lot, but I want to share with you guys that it's important. Marcia just called something out that is very, very important. First of all, you can find great condos in Florida that don't have these challenges or that have already overcome them, that are in great shape and great position and priced really, really well right now. Right. But you can also walk yourself into a nightmare. Okay. If you hire an agent or you don't know these things, you can get yourself in trouble. right? An agent that doesn't know about these things. So we're sharing this with you. Obviously, we're here, we're coastal, we know about these things, but we're very cognizant of taking care of our clients. So if you are in that market, be mindful. Okay, you've got more diligence to do than buying a single family home. That's important to understand. So Marcia, shout out to you for that recommendation. That is awesome. Let's get into some of these questions and comments, and then Marcia's got some stuff that she wants to share. So I want to get in that. Holy cow, you guys went crazy. Let me get into the comment section here. All right, Zach says, can you share your thoughts on Gulf Beach Towns? I live by a Gulf Beach town. That is the reason I moved here. So that is my thought. Do it 100%. More specifically, why Madeira homes seem to be cheaper than other beach towns. Cheaper in what way? I mean, you can spend a few $1,000,000 in Madeira Beach, just like you can spend a few $1,000,000 in Indian Shores or Indian Rocks Beach or St. Pete Beach. I wouldn't say that Mad Beach is better or worse necessarily than any of those places. I love Mad Beach. Madeira Beach is what I'm referring to here. It's a great beach. There's a lot of amenities there, lots of really good access. Are there deals to be had in Mad Beach? Yeah, but there's deals to be had in St. Pete Beach, which is just south of that also. So great area. If you like, it's more, what's the best way to, there are more like resort style, like motel type of things there. There's more tourism there than I prefer. Zach, this is really a preference thing. Some people love that hustle and bustle, right, Marcia? They don't care. Yeah. They love it, right?
Yeah, other people want to be in the middle of it, and some don't. Some want to be able to get to it quickly, but not be in the middle of it.
Exactly. But it's great, man. I mean, we go down there and spend time. Kate and I do regularly. One of our favorite bars down there called the Saltwater Hippie. They got live music. We are huge live music fans, and it's right across the street from the beach. It's awesome. So, we always tell everybody the dirty little secret is we have 27.5 miles of beautiful sugar sand beaches. They're all the same, man. The only difference is the community that's behind it. And from Clearwater all the way down to St. Pete, you can't really go wrong. You just can't. It's just a matter of preference and lifestyle. So great question, man. Great. Hopefully that helps answer some of that for you. What is up, Denise? What's up, fam? Hey, please let me know if Stacy reached back out with you. I sent her your question because I wanted to make sure that got answered. So forgive me for not responding directly, but I sent that to her. I want to make sure you got it answered. If not, text me and we'll make sure you get what you need. Okay. Travel 2330 says insurance rates. It is a question. I don't know the answer to it. They're all over the place. So that's the best thing I can share for you guys right now. Greetings from Tampa Bay, Florida. What is up, All-Star Life? Love it. Love when the locals get involved. Y'all, let us know where you're watching from. Let us know who you are. Love to connect with you guys. If you have questions, bring them. We're happy to do that. All right. Stephen Job says insurance is high, but varies wildly from property to property. It absolutely varies wildly from property to property, and high is relative. So what do I mean by that? We're selling new construction homes in Wesley Chapel and Parish that are seeing insurance rates as low as $1,200 or $1,300 annually, which is insane for me to say out loud. Now, I'm not in here promising anybody that insurance rate. I want you to hear me loud and clear, right? But we have clients that have closed properties with those numbers. And if that sounds insane, if you live in Florida, I agree, because those insurance rates are stupid cheap. But that is a brand new home, non-flood zone, non-evacuation zone, built to the highest construction standards. Some of them in the absolute, y'all, we have some of the highest construction standards in the country in the state of Florida. So in terms of risk, that is low. All right. So that's why you're seeing that. Now, conversely, if you own a home like in Boca, those are some of the highest insurance rates in the country. And it wouldn't be anything to see stuff at $10,000 or more. The average over in that area is like 10 grand, which is insane when you think about that. Yeah, Marcia, crazy. That I did a full video on this when I pulled up, I think it's Wallet Hub or Nerd Wallet, where it shows the average insurance price per city around the country. And like 9 to 10 were on the Atlantic coast over in that region, that south, the northern south end of Florida on the Atlantic side. crazy insurance rates. So I feel you on that, and they do vary wildly. Let me get over to Instagram, make sure we don't have any questions there. Thomas, he had a question, but he said we answered it. So we're good on that end, but thank you for contributing there. Love that. All right. Mississippi has lower insurance rates and property. You're not wrong. Mississippi has a lot. You are correct. Mississippi also has some other things that are much higher, right? Like one of the highest crime rates in the country. So keep that in perspective. Everything is relative, y'all. Everything is relative. And I'm not trying to disparage Mississippi. I just want to make sure we call out the differences. It's also not on the coast, depending on where you live. But thanks for the contribution. Appreciate that. All right. Kingy says, what is the quality of education in Tampa for K through 12? And what are your general thoughts about raising your family in Tampa area? These two things that keep me on the fence about relocation. It's a great question. Marsha, why don't you, we'll both contribute to this.
Yeah.
But you can take the lead here.
Well, as far as education, when I moved here, my kids were done with school. So personally, I have not dealt with it, but I can tell you the clients that I've helped move with children, they always seem to find what they are excited about education wise. You do a little bit of research on where you want your kids to go and why you feel the way you do. Everybody's different about that, just like they are finding a home. I think Stacy is an expert on education because she had 3 kids going through the system here. Not only the school system, but then they all went to college here as well. So she's an expert at it. And Juan has small children. So I'm probably the least as far as personal. But like I said, we help clients in that as well. And they seem to be able to find the right spot for their kids.
Yep. That's a great question. And this, and I've shared this on the channel many times, guys, we homeschool. All right. So, and the reason that we made that decision is because I'm going to be honest with you guys. I think the state of education in the United States, if you're not paying for the top of the top private schools, it's got some things to left to be desired. So that's one thing. I don't necessarily love the approach. However, I'm a product of that system, and I had a wonderful experience in an area where everybody thought was terrible. Right. So like, you got to kind of balance these things out. Now, here's the one thing I will say about Florida that I absolutely love on the education side. It's school of choice. It's school of choice. And there are a lot of incredible programs. You got magnet schools, you got STEM schools, there are specialty schools regarding engineering and robotic. It's crazy the accessibility we have at some of there are some amazing education programs out there. Right. So like you definitely have access to that. Number one. Number two, it's not, and I hope you guys hear me, and I don't expect anyone to think the way that I think, but it is not the school system's responsibility to educate my children. It is my responsibility to educate my children. Are they there to assist in that? Absolutely. I pay taxes for that. I expect that. And regardless of whether I actually use the school system or not, that is my belief. Right. And I realize that everybody's situation is different, but I do believe that as a society, we've taken a hands-off approach to our children's education, and we expect everyone else to do that for us. And please don't take this as me putting this on anyone else. I just want you to understand, when I say I homeschool, everybody always asks why. Well, the reason is because I want to make sure that I give my children the best possible opportunity. And what I know is that while they can plug into a public school or a charter school or a private school and have access to that, and we may do that at one point when my children get older, but in the early formative years, we wanted to be hands-on, and we want to make sure that they were getting an education. And also we want to make sure that they were getting an education that aligned with our values. Right. So I want to make sure that I'm clear on that, because sometimes people always ask, about homeschooling and why we choose to do that. And I don't think we're better than anyone. And I just want to make sure that we took that on and we were responsible for it up front. And again, we'll allow them to move into different education types as they get older. And then the other thing is, like, we live in a country now, in a society now where I can literally pay the best person on the planet to teach a specific topic online and have the kids go through it. Right. I don't have an excuse anymore for not getting them specialized education in the areas that they want to grow in, or that we believe they should grow in. So sorry for the tangent on that, y'all. It's probably more than you were looking for there, Easy, but like, that I don't look at it as education in any way other than it's than what it is, right? It is my responsibility to educate the kids. The school systems are there to support and assist in that process. And if I don't like the way that it's going, I can switch up. I can send them to a charter school, private school, another public school. I can homeschool. We got a lot of options. I love the ability that we have here in the state of Florida, and it's less restrictive than a lot of other states. Our kids still have to check in with the state, but there is very little restriction on how we go about educating them, which I'm grateful for. So just sharing that with you. My wife is really the team player when it comes to that, or the teacher, you should say, and then I am the principal at this point. So just sharing with you how that works in terms of how we went. Now, in terms of raising a family, we moved here to raise our family. That was the reason we moved here, was to raise our family in a beautiful area where the sun shines and we could have access to abundant outdoor activity year round. That's why we made the decision. We've been here for 5.5 years. And I just told you, I bought a house. I didn't sell it. Right. So we are here, man. I love where we live. This is why we do this. So great question. Sorry for the tangent, y'all, but I just want to make sure that we give different perspectives about what that looks like. All right. Okay. Let me see here. And more for the land and country. Okay. Here's a good question. How are the trends going for Airbnb rental properties? Are the milestone sections and reserves part of the standard disclosures? Well, yes. The disclosures currently do not have a checkbox for the milestone inspection. So that's a great question, actually.
Yeah.
But it is something that you can request during due diligence, and we request that with every single property. The good listing agents are already supplying all of that material in the documents. But you definitely, it is up to it's the sole responsibility of the buyer in the state of Florida to due diligence. So that's something you're going to want to request on every single one. In terms of Airbnb rentals, I mean, we had 16.5 million visitors. It was a record year in Tampa. So Airbnbs are chugging along. Here's how you know that they're doing well. Everyone complains about them. All the communities are trying to get them banned. So I mean, they're doing good, but I don't track that data specifically, Stephen. So you're going to have to do your own diligence on that. Dig a little bit deeper. Okay. All Star Life says, I'd rather pay for a charter school for education, smaller classroom, and more attention to each child. That is a huge reason why we decided homeschool. All right. So great point. Again, everybody's going to have to take this their own way. I recognize that first of all, most people don't want to homeschool. They're terrible.
I have the utmost respect for people that can do it, but my kids' education would not have been good if I was their teacher.
Terrifying.
I would not survive, and neither would they. So, but I agree with you that it is the parents' responsibility to educate their kids. You know, you don't send your kid to school and expect the teachers to teach them everything in life. And I know, I know a lot of people that are teachers, and they are having such a hard time getting that participation from the kids' parents, which is a sad situation. But
and don't hear this as I'm anti-public schools, because I'm not. I realize that there are single moms, single parents, families who do not have the ability to send their kids to paid education sources. I'm so grateful that I am a product of that system. I understand it. I'm grateful for it. So please don't hear it any other way than that. It is a decision we made. And for a lot of reasons, selfish reasons included, we wanted to travel as a family and never be limited to, having our children subjected to the fact that they were being penalized for not doing worksheets when we can do that on the road somewhere. That stuff just doesn't make sense to me. Like, again, we live in an era where access to education is borderless because you have a computer. As long as you have that and the internet, you're good to go. So great question and great point on that too, Marcia. Okay. Let me see here. Travel 23.3. Yeah, my city banned Airbnbs. There's a lot of that, man. We're going to see much, much more of that as we go along. And, fair comment. I don't agree at all. This has given people opportunities they never would have had because they were limited because of their geography or their zip code. So we're going to be at odds in terms of that, but I can understand why people would come, would have a position that way. But I think if you do diligence, you'll find that it allows a lot more opportunity for people who did not have access before. So again, disagreeing, but appreciate the sentiment nonetheless. Okay. Let's see. Kingy says, check grade school site as well as with any metro area. There's good and bad schools. I would not let that be the deterrence. Yep, absolutely. Grade schools and school review are two wonderful resources, right, Marcia? We've shared
we share those.
Many times on the channel before, but let me pull those up in real time. I've said this out loud, and I'm going to say it again, because when it comes to websites like this, you do have to be mindful. Okay. Now, what do I mean by that? Mindful of they're taking data in from the state, and they also let people make comments and leave reviews. And I don't know about you guys, but not every Yelper has a positive approach on life. So just, again, multiple sources I think is appropriate, but this is a great resource. You put a specific school district in here, and then it'll show you the school ratings. Okay. And then you can dig deeper, right? Again, you can get into the reviews. Just be mindful when you start reading reviews, who's leaving them, that kind of thing. But it's a great resource. So Great Schools and School Review, those are two wonderful resources. Great Schools is attached directly to Zillow. So for any of you guys who use Zillow, they pull the information directly from greatschools.org. So you can see that over there. So great resource. Thanks for that. Awesome.
The counties also have a lot of information, the county school systems websites.
They're really good resources. Pasco County's great. Hillsborough County does a good job. Pinellas County does a good job. Manatee, where Marcia's at, Sarasota also. So I never thought to use those before, but they've come a long way. That's for sure. Zach says, thanks for the input. Appreciate it. You are welcome. Okay, John, what's the most in-demand beach area in the area? Great question. Clearwater, St. Pete. Those are the two most popular beaches. In Pinellas County, so in the northern side of Tampa Bay. If you go down the southern side of Tampa Bay, where Marcia is, you've got what beaches down there, Marcia? There's three of them on my mind.
Siesta Key, Anna Maria, Lido Beach.
Yep.
I would say
those are the three most in demand
but there's many more that are just as nice. They're just not as well known.
Yep. So that's where you usually save a little bit of money. And when I say little, I'm talking about a little. You save a little bit of money and you don't have as many people on your beach. Again, some people love to be in the thick of it, right? Clearwater Beach has been America's greatest beach for decades now. And same thing with Siesta Key, and people love being in the mix and other people don't. So completely understand. Great question though. Great question. Joshua Barron says, brother lives in Seminole, looking to move to Largo in the next year or two. Can you explain deed restrictions, HOA, unincorporated? Are they all the same thing? Dude, this is like one of the greatest questions. All right. Good job, man. Joshua, great question. I'm assuming that your brother has gotten in your ear about this and shared with you how to have the least amount of governance possible. That's it. That's what I'm hearing here. But shout out to Joshua. Everybody watching right now, give Joshua a thumbs up. Hit the thumbs up button. Hit the like and subscribe. That's how you give Joshua a thumbs up, because it's a great question. All right. So what does that mean? All right. Let me break these down one by one. Can you explain a deed restriction? Okay. Let's start there. So I'm going to do deed restriction, Marcia. You do HOA, and then I'll do unincorporated.
Okay.
So deed restriction. When you're driving through Pinellas County, especially, because he's 60s and 70s, you'll be driving on the road and you'll see like a neighborhood sign, or they'll even have them like near the street sign, and it'll say deed restricted community. And when people see that, they immediately think of like HOA, and it's not the same thing. Okay. Now let me explain what that means. Okay. A deed restriction is something that at some point the landowner decided that they wanted to restrict some component of how that land is used in the future. And they explained this to us in a really basic way in real estate class eons ago when I was in it 12 years ago. And then what they said was like, think of it this way. 80 years ago, there was most likely one landowner who owned a large chunk of land. And maybe that landowner's wife, and I'm just giving you an example, ran a daycare. out of her farm or something, right? And she didn't want any competition. And when they decided to sell the land around them, they put a deed restriction, meaning it was a restriction for the land use. And it said that anyone who buys any of this land for the rest of time chooses to do so knowing they can never build a daycare on any of this land. That is it's a simple example, but that is an example of a deed restriction. Okay. Another deed restriction example might be that if you're going to build any homes in this community moving forward, all of them must have tile roofs. Right? We've seen those restrictions before, have we not, Marcia?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
There's all kinds of.
Yep. All kinds, right? So like, great question, Joshua. I know that's a little bit broad, but it's really that simple. It can be if there's just one restriction of the land use, technically that's a deed restricted piece of property. Okay, so that great question, and that directly leads us into the next one, which is the HOA. So Marcia, can you handle an HOA for
Sure.
Joshua and the community here?
HOA is a community that has like a government homeowners association is what it is the abbreviation. And some of them, the homeowners association can make rules. They're usually people that live in the community, and they can make rules usually voted on by the people. Rules like you have to have approval before you paint your house a color, or you have to get approval to do certain things. But to me, it's mainly so somebody doesn't paint their house like a extremely odd color or do something odd. Another thing they do is rules like you can't park in the street overnight, so that there's all types of rules that homeowners association can make. And some people really like to live in an HOA community, and some people do not. Like Juan does not, I do. And I have my reasons for liking it. I know that people's yards will be maintained and things like that bother me when someone doesn't keep up with their home, the exterior of it. So for me, I like the HOA. They also do things like collect fees. Not all communities do this, but they collect fees to maintain the community, such as if they hire landscaping. If your HOAs cover your landscaping, they collect fees in order to provide that service. So there's all different types of reasons they collect fees. Some provide your cable service, internet service, all types of services to homeowners in that community. So they do vary. There's some very restrict. There's some that offer a lot and some that do very little. But it is like I would call like a government within a community.
Yeah, that's what a great explanation, Marcia. And the interesting thing you're hearing there, Joshua, is like HOAs they can set rules that everyone votes on, and they can amend the bylaws, right? Because an HOA will have bylaws and rules and regulations. Those are the two things that usually come into place, right? But here's the thing. They can amend those bylaws or the rules once they're voted upon. Now, here's the difference between a deed restriction and an HOA. An HOA can amend the rules. They can amend bylaws, but they can't directly add a deed restriction. Okay. Now they enforce the same way, meaning that they set a rule, which is the same thing that a deed restriction is about for property, except an HOA is not going to attach that to the deed. Okay. So that's where the things are a little bit different there. All right. That's the second thing you asked. He's getting the 3 for 1. I love it. Now, unincorporated. What does unincorporated mean? Unincorporated means that you fall out of the jurisdiction of the city specifically, okay, or the county. Now, give you an example. I live in unincorporated Largo, and that is the southwest section of Largo, which is just adjacent to Indian Rocks Beach. So my beach is Indian Rocks Beach. I live in unincorporated Largo and unincorporated Pinellas County. I don't fall in or underneath a lot of the local governance rules. So let me give you an example. In Pinellas County, we have a 30-day rental restriction, but because I am unincorporated, I can do nightly. If you're an unincorporated Seminole, you could do a nightly Airbnb. There are Airbnbs in our community because they don't fall under that jurisdiction, right? So that's one example. Now, the city of Largo does not police my neighborhood. I have to rely on Pinellas County sheriffs to police my neighborhood. So that is another pro or con, depending on how you look at it, right? For us, and Marcia can share this with you too, Pinellas County, the greater Tampa Bay area, we have a lot of sheriffs, a lot. As a matter of fact, there are 2 that live in my neighborhood alone, right? So like, I don't worry about policing. We have more than an abundant amount of police and sheriff in our area. So a lot of our beach communities rely on sheriff's departments as opposed to hiring a police force for their small cities. Some of the cities on the beaches only have 2,000 residents. It's very hard to support, having police officers on the scene all the time. I'm not saying they're not police, just understand they don't have a city police department. They're relying on the sheriff department. Okay. So that's an example. Also things like trash. I have to pay for my own trash. The city of Largo doesn't supply me cans or pick them up. So these are the things. So these are the trade-offs you make. All right. Great question. I know it was a long one. All right, cool. Let's keep rolling here, Marcia. They got a lot of questions. All right. Ed Mux 1. Ed Mux 1. That is an interesting handle there. Hello from Chicago. Good evening. That's our second viewer from Chicago tonight. Love that. Easy King says, thank you both for your candid feedback. You are welcome.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. Daisy May. Love that name. I will be selling in the greater Pittsburgh, PA area and moving to Tampa Clearwater area. Is renting an apartment a good feasible idea until I find my ideal property? It totally depends on you. We've been asked this question before. What I will say is this: it doesn't take as long as you think it does to figure it out. That is the one thing that if we can help with perspective for anybody watching this right now, Marcia, 2 trips max usually, and people got it handled. Right.
Yeah, they know the area that they want pretty quickly.
Yep.
And I always say, I think people think because we're realtors, we're telling them to buy rather than rent. But I think of it as you're spending thousands of dollars every month towards rent when you could have put that in a down payment for your house or, mortgage payment. It just worries me that people spend, if you rent a place for a year and you're spending $3,000 a month, that's $36,000 you could have had towards your house. That's how I think about it. And like Juan and I always say, come to town a few times. That's a whole lot cheaper to come and see if you can find a place to buy or an area you like, then find a place to buy. And you've, saved yourself $36,000. in rent that would have just been out the door. But as Juan also says, it depends on you, what makes you comfortable. If you really feel like you couldn't figure it out in those amount of times and you don't see it as a waste of money, then it would be a good option.
Yeah. A lot of the times what we'll see people do is they'll travel down. Because again, if you look at the overall expense, right? Like this is the thing, and to Marcia's point, like I'm a realtor. I understand the money math behind how real estate works. And, a lot of the times, if you take a couple trips, let's just say and time is usually a component that challenges people more than finances on that end. But let's just give an example. 2 4-day weekends will help you narrow down very quickly the general areas that make the most sense. Okay. Like it literally will. If you're not a regular here, right? And I assume you've been here at some point, otherwise you probably wouldn't be considering the area, but let's just assume for the sake that you're not. A couple 4-day weekends will really help give you some general idea of like, okay, I can sort of feel like this kind of feels like home. I need to investigate more. And then beyond that, you can rent an Airbnb for up to 3 months. And it's going to sound expensive. It might cost you $3,000 or $4,000 a month. But again, if your rent is $2,000, that's $24,000 you are guaranteeing to burn up to get an education that you can get in a much shorter period of time. So could you invest $10,000 in an Airbnb and 2 trips here, right? An Airbnb for 2 months and 2 trips here to really narrow that down? I absolutely think you could. The money math is better that way.
Mhm.
Again, it needs to be your decision. What is right for you? How do you feel comfortable? But again, it doesn't take as long as people think it does, right? It just really is having a good team, having a great plan in place, and you can win there. So great question, Daisy. Hopefully that was helpful. Again, it's different for everybody. Mason, good evening, Mason. He says, I'll be moving in Clearwater from the Midwest in the next 3 weeks. What areas do you recommend me looking for apartments? Budget is 21. Mason, I got to be honest with you. Like, I don't study the rental market, the apartment rental market at all. I don't have the slightest clue. Apartments.com is the way to go. Here's what I do know. Our median rent in the greater Tampa Bay area is $1,900 for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. If it is less expensive than that, it's probably for a reason. If it's much less expensive than that, it is definitely for a reason. And that reason is probably not one you want to find out. Right. So keep that in mind. But there, look at the crime maps. That's a great way to go about it too. And please forgive me. I can't counsel you on something I don't study or understand. So I do not have a resource or a knowledge base when it comes to apartment living. Just don't have it. Okay. Daisy May, thumbs up. Love it. Thank you. Awesome. Y'all, I hope you're getting a tremendous amount of value. If you are, please hit that like button and hit the subscribe button if you're watching us on YouTube and you haven't subscribed already. I believe the analytics tell us, Marcia, that 90% of the people that watch our channel, which has been a tremendous amount, don't subscribe. I mean, my heart is broken.
Hey, one other thing I wanted to say to Daisy May that I thought of is watch videos. That's another way to learn about areas. Juan makes awesome videos, and there's tons of them about, different areas that you can get a good feel for where you'd like without even coming here. But you could narrow it down by the areas you see on the videos and then go from there. So I had just thought of that after we discussed it.
Absolutely. Well, y'all, I love the questions. Mason says, haha, awesome. Thanks a lot. I'll probably be looking to buy a house after 6 to 7. All good, man. Again, we're not trying to beat anybody up. I hate speaking about things I don't know. I just don't do it. Right. Yeah. It puts you in a bad place. And I'm going to give you some terrible advice and then you're going to be mad at me. So we're definitely not going down that road. Daisy said, I watch all the time. Thank you for watching. We appreciate that. And y'all, thanks for watching on Instagram too. Marcia, it is already 7 after 8. They had a
goodness, we
flew
through that.
We really did. And Marcia's got a whole lineup for you guys that we will be saving till next Tuesday. We will save that till next Tuesday. And we'll lead off with Marcia, just so you guys know. So we'll kick that into high gear. That way we can get into some new construction.
I'll keep everything at hand here.
Yeah. And I didn't even get to talk about the Ray Stadium that was approved. We'll get into that project next Tuesday also.
Okay.
Just for everybody watching, because there's some really exciting things happening in St. Petersburg and the greater Tampa Bay area. And as always, y'all, we appreciate you watching. If you are considering relocating to the area, reach out to us. Our information is on the screen. That phone number goes directly to this phone. You have access to me, y'all. You can go right to our website and schedule a time in my calendar to talk if you have more questions. And you are considering moving the area, we are here to help. So don't hesitate to reach out on that. Look who arrived. Yay! Sassy, you were called out earlier. They were wondering where you were at. That's fantastic. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Late but listening in. We'll catch the mist on the replay. We appreciate you, of course. What exciting. It's always awesome, man. Marcia, I still can't get over the fact that we have the best community that contributes to the show and watches. We love you guys. You have no idea.
I know, it's awesome. When we first started doing it, I was nervous. I know Juan loves talking in front of the camera, but I've gotten more comfortable with it. And, we have a really good time just talking about what we do every day. I mean, we love what we do. So answering these questions is, it's gotten easier. It's a lot of fun. And I love that everyone asks questions and participates. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. And y'all, we are starting to see some really hot deals, by the way. I'm going out to check out a property that's got like $60,000 an upgrade. It's in Wildleaf, Marcia. So it's in Parrish, in one of our favorite communities,
Okay.
North River Ranch. It's in the Wildleaf section of that community, which I really love. They got
Yeah.
$60,000 in upgrades on a Neal property, and they are blowing that thing out. I think it's like 420 is what they're asking, with a 4.5% interest rate.
Wow. Did Joe, did you
Joe
hear?
sent it to me. I was like, Joe,
Yeah.
I might be buying that. I don't tempt me, man. I'm like, I might be looking at that. So I'm gonna come
That's
check
a
that
beautiful
out.
community.
It really is. Marcia's got a new condo going to be listed here shortly, and I'm probably going to sneak off and go record that house. I'll send that out to you guys. If you're not on our email list, do yourself a favor, go to our website, register, and then we'll make sure you get that information, because I'm going to be sending that out to our clients and anyone who is on our newsletter list. So don't hesitate to reach out there. We'll get that to you guys, but that's going to be a hot property. I'm really excited to go check that out. Couple last things here before we sign off. Frank says, my wife and I are coming down in January for 2 weeks and renting a house in Clearwater, not Clearwater Beach. Are you mad about that? We want to live as locals and explore impossible to move for the next few years. Love that. What we refer to that is community shopping, y'all. You want to live like a local. Frank said it best. That's what you're trying to do. You want to live like a local. We call it community shopping. You put them on your list and you start scratching them off, and eventually you'll narrow it down to the one that feels like home, and that's where you want to be. So great comment there, Frank. And Daisy, I hope that helps you too. Love that. Frank says, any suggestions for planning our exploration? Yeah, reach out to us. We're happy to help. Happy to help.
I can give you probably 50 restaurants to try while you're here.
Yeah. What cuisine do you like? What time do you where do you like to go shop? In terms of groceries, are you a Costco family, or are you a Sam's Club? Help us understand. We're happy to make those connections for you all. All right. With that being said, it was a wonderful evening, y'all. We had a great time. Join us next Tuesday for another Tampa Talk Live. Look out for the video coming this Saturday. We're going to be talking about St. Petersburg, Florida, because St. Pete is hot. And 7 new construction projects down there going on right now. One of them is going to be 515 feet high. It will be the highest building on the west side of the Gulf Coast. Awesome project happening down there. So happy to share that with you. Marcia, any final words for these beautiful people this evening?
Have an awesome week. Looking forward to seeing you next week. I'll keep all my information until then so I can share. It's about things happening in Bradenton and Sarasota, and a couple new communities that I am excited about.
Yep, absolutely. And y'all, as always, we say it every single week, go out and live that Tampa life. We'll see you. Have a great night.